And we have Vishal Kulkarni with us. Vishal is the director of Faber Infinite, a consulting company based out of Pune with presence in about 8 countries. He's an expert in organizational transformation, and he's been doing a lot of good work with many manufacturing companies. So, welcome to today's session. I'll hand over to Vishal without any further ado, and let's take this forward. Over to you,
Okay,
Vishal.
great. Thanks, Rahul, and good afternoon to everyone. Let me start by first thanking CI as well as Young Indians Pune chapter, Rahul, and the team for arranging this webinar on one of the very important and interesting topic which is being discussed nowadays. I called it as once loss is another thing. Friends, since last couple of months, if you could observe, there's so many headlines which are hitting us. And most of these headlines are not good to our ears. These are all about the crisis which we are all facing. These are all about the situation because of which we all are stuck at our homes today. But in middle of these headlines, there are a couple of headlines which have catched ears and eyes of manufacturing professionals like you and me. Let me take you through some of these headlines first before we talk about go to the main subject. These are couple of some of the headlines which I have captured, which I said that yes, they have captured like attracted our ears and eyes. These are like companies moving out of China. It says there are many organizations across the world who have set up either their manufacturing locations in China. They're talking that because of they believe that China is someone who has created given this situation to the world. So on a sentimental ground and many other parameters as well, these organizations are talking about shifting their base from China to someone in some other countries. Along with it, there are many other organizations which are also talking about shifting of their procurement base. So what we are talking about, there are two types of shift that is happening in this entire scenario. One, a shift of manufacturing base and the shift of a procurement base. Let me clarify it for the sake of common understanding for everyone. When I say a shift of manufacturing base, that says there is an organization who has a plant in China. They were producing in China, and from China they were exporting to the world in terms of either semi-finished or finished product. Now, these are the organizations which I call it as the manufacturing organizations. And there are many other type of organizations which were procuring some kind of raw materials from the China. Either they were procuring some raw materials or they were procuring some semi-finished material, processing it in their own countries and then giving it to their customers. So now what is happening because of this situation, these both the types of organizations, they are talking that they will move out of China. Now, China, we all know China used to be called as a manufacturing hub of the world. Now, these news have created a kind of a superstorm in global supply chain. We all know nowadays we say that it's not the organizations which compete, it's the supply chains which compete. Now, these things have created a superstorm in global supply chain. Initially, the supply chain used to be the producer, used to be the China, and then the distribution and the selling. Now the question is, who will take place of China? Will it be one country or will it be so many countries? Who will get the majority of the pie? So that has created a superstorm in the global supply chain, and all the leading organizations of all the leading countries of the world are talking about getting some benefit out of this situation. How can I grasp these opportunities which is coming out of China? So that is what the manufacturing sector is now talking about. No, but when we talk about this superstorm in global supply chain, which is happening because of this crisis situation, is it the fact? The fact is not the same. This superstorm in the global supply chain has started quite long back. It has already started 2 years back. It has started with the trade and tariff war between two titans, which is US and China. When there was a change in the government in the US, and because of their own policies, I don't want to go into that debate whether those are correct policies or not correct policies, but because of some of the policy changes which happened at US end, this trade and tariff war started between China and US. Before we talk about what is the impact of this current scenario, whether India will get benefited of it, let's understand this trade and tariff war in short while. This all started somewhere in January 2018. To be precise, it started on 22nd of January 2018, where US increased the tariffs on washing machines and solar cells that were being imported from China. It continued on 8 March. This got extended to steel and aluminum. equipment further extended to China reciprocated. On 2nd April 2018, they increased the tariff on $3 billion of US goods. And that from there, this trade and tariff war started between China and US, and you can see a kind of a action and reaction. On 25th May, US increased for about another 1.3 billion products. Again on 15 June, 6 July, and now from here, the US and China were actually doing it on the same day. That the action and reaction was happening exactly on the same day. Like 15 June, US did something, China reciprocated immediately. Same happened with 6th of July. Same happened with 23rd of August. Same continued on 24th of September 2018. 1st of December 2018. Then there was a 3 months, there was a bit of a relaxed period, but again it's restarted on 10th May, where China again responded on 13th May, and that's how this war is going. And then came this crisis scenario. But before this crisis scenario, let's understand the size of this war. Let's understand the size in terms of the economy. When we talk about US, how much US used to import from China? Now these are 2018 figures, 2019 figures. There was some ambiguity, so I thought that let's stick to the 2018 figures. In 2018, US used to import $539 billion worth of material from China. And against that, it used to export only $120 billion material to the China. Now, because of this tariff war, US has imposed a tariff on more than 47% of Chinese imports. So more than 47% of this 540 billion US dollar, the trade and tariff increase in the range of 10 to 25%. So which affected more than 5,700 products categories. It's not a small number. So 5,700 product categories were affected because of this trade and tariff war. In retaliation, China imposed tariff on 91% of the US imports. So almost each and every product, you can assume that almost each and every product that China used to import from US, it increased its trade and tariff on those particular products. And that's where the war intensified. And then came this particular scenario where we have seen since November 2019, when this crisis scenario began, and start of this particular year, where this crisis actually moved out of China and actually spread in the entire world, this trade and tariff war got more intensified. Along with trade and tariff, economical perspective and emotional perspective got attached to this war. And along with US, so many other nations got... Hello, I hope I'm audible, right? Thanks. So along with US, so many other nations got pulled into this war, and the effect of this, these are typically the sectors which got affected because of this. Now these sectors includes largely automobiles and ancillary equipments, electronic industry, pharmaceutical and chemical industries, engineering industries, textile and synthetic fabric industry, industries working in the sector of energy, and even the agricultural industries as well. So you can majority. Can I request all the participants to keep their mic on a mute mode, please? Yeah. If you have any suggestion, please type in a chat box so that I will be able to access it. Yeah. Thanks. So as I was saying, that most of the industries, the dominant industries, got affected because of this particular trade and tariff war, which was happening between China and US. And now, post-crisis, when each and every organization from all the developed countries was talking that either they want to shift their manufacturing base or their procurement base from the China, a survey was conducted where almost... my request to participants, please keep your mic on a mute mode, please. I hope I am audible to everyone. Yeah.
Yes, Vishal, you are audible. Maybe you can ask one of the organizers to mute all the participants.
Yeah, please. Can I request Rahul or Varun to please mute all the participants for some time, and then maybe when we open up for question answers and comments, we can unmute everyone.
Sure.
Thanks. Okay, thanks for the suggestion. Yeah. So let's continue. So somewhere in February 2020, a survey was conducted where about 2,600 organizations were surveyed, and they were asked whether they would like to continue having their procurement based to the China or manufacturing based to the China. Out of 2,600, almost more than 37%, for a round figure, we can say almost 40% of the organizations said that they want to move out of this China. It's a huge number. And from where these organizations are coming? These organizations are coming from these countries. Some of them, most of them from the US, followed with Japan, South Korea, European Union, and others. And look at the organization. We are talking about organizations like Adobe, Honeywell, Cisco, FedEx, Apple, GoPro. In fact, there is a news in today's newspapers about Apple, where Apple is already committed that they will invest in India. From Japan, there are organizations like Nissan, Mazda, Suzuki, Panasonic, Sony, all big names. From South Korea, organizations like Hyundai Steel, Samsung, LG, Doosan. So you can see all the big names which were having their manufacturing base in China. Either they were, as I saying, either they were having their manufacturing base or they were procuring from China. Most of these big organizations have now already started talking about they will move out of this China. So if they are moving out of this China, of course they will choose some other destination. That's why I've given a heading to this webinar, a topic of this webinar as one's loss is another's gain. So since China will be losing these organizations, let's understand which will be those countries which are in the queue. Now, these are the countries like, of course, starts with our own mother nation, India. Everyone is talking about India. Now, why India is coming up? I was talking to one of the professionals of this sector, and we were just discussing about why people are talking about India. Even outside the world, everyone's saying that let's go to India. Because there is sentiments attached to it. People are saying China has given this disease to the world, whereas India has given medicines. So India is already riding on that emotional wave that India is supplying medicines to the world. That's where India is in the limelight today. India is one of definitely the preferred destination where these organizations are saying that this is a place where we can actually think of shifting our manufacturing or procurement base. But along with it, we have so many competitors with us. Some of these competitors are Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, even countries like Bangladesh, Taiwan, Brazil, Turkey, Argentina, and so on. No. So guys, the competition is not easy. The competition is stiff. We are competing with so many countries, and these are just glimpse of some of the countries. There's so many along with these which are in the queue. Those who would like to get some pie out of this cake which is coming out of China. So when we talk about these as a countries, let's also understand how much business volume is at stake. Now, with pure figures of 2019, total export that is China is exporting to other countries is somewhere in the range of 1,071 billion US. Now, just to compare on apple to apple basis, what India is doing to the same countries against Chinese 1,071 billion US, India's 2019 figure says 116. So you can just say that Indian export to these countries, Indian exports to these countries is only 1/10 of the Chinese exports. So in other way, if to look at it, the opportunity for us is huge. So even let's say India talks about that, even we say that the 40% of the organizations are moving out of China, that is from 171. Even we say on pessimistic side, about 400 billion US worth of business can move out of China, which is actually 3 times more than what India is doing today. So that's the size of the opportunity which we all have, not only we as an India, as a nation, we have, plus our all competing nations also do have. Now, when someone is talking that I want to move out of China, I want to shift my manufacturing or procurement base out of China, they start with the selection criteria, and where they will compare all these nations which you can see on certain scales. Which are those scales? So typically, the factors which will affect this decision making, the factors which will affect this process, I have categorized into two forms. One, I call it as an external factor. Another, I will call it as an internal. Now, before we go to this factor, let me clarify the definition of external versus internal. Internal factors are those factors which are within the control of that industry as such. For example, if we are talking about automotive as an industry, the factors which are within the control of automotive industry, the organizations which are part of automotive industry, the factors which are within control of that industry, whether some of these factors like your productivity levels, some of the factors like quality levels, supply chain levels, inventory levels, cost levels. So these are certain factors which are within the control of that industry or as such within the control of organization. So I have classified all these factors as an internal factor. And all the factors which are not within the control of the industry or the organization, I have classified them as an external factor. So when any organization is thinking of moving from China, they will check both these factors. So let's understand these factors first. Of course, let's start with external factors. The tariffs and taxes play a big role. Topography definitely plays a big role. The laws and regulations of the nation plays a big role. Stability of the government, the infrastructure, we all have seen. See, one of the advantages which China was having over India over the so many years was on this parameter of infrastructure and permits, like where they were having those manufacturing hubs, special zones for specific sectors, specific industries. You can say so much good transportation network throughout the country, good connections through airlines, through sea. So many, they were outperforming everyone in terms of infrastructure and permits, and also on the market side. Of course, India is a big market, same is case with the China as well. So these are certain factors. Whenever any organization decides where they will go for their manufacturing base, shifting their manufacturing base, they will talk about this broad. Of course, there are so many small other factors which will come as a subset of these factors. But these you can classify as a broad level factors which organizations are considering when they are taking a call where they should shift their manufacturing base. Along with it, there are so many internal factors also. Which are those internal factors? Those internal factors are like the productivity levels that the country is demonstrating, the quality levels, the cost level. When we talk about cost level or productivity level, recently there was a survey which said if we just compare the countries within Asia, India's cost is 10 to 15% more than the other South Asian countries. Whereas in terms of productivity, India is somewhere lagging by somewhere in the range of 20% less productive as compared with other countries. So these factors definitely play a big role. Even let's say all external factors are in control, but if you don't have a control on these internal factors, none of the manufacturer will think that he would like to come and set up his plant over here. So along with cost, you have health and skill index that is purely to a labor staff. Delivery competitiveness, that's where our supply chains, our transportation network, all those play a big role. And also the innovation level. I will talk more about which type of innovation level these organizations are looking. So now all these factors which you can see on your screen now, they play a big role in a decision-making process from where to shift their manufacturing base. And all these giants which are today talking about they want to shift their manufacturing base, they will think of all these factors. And even those organizations which are also talking about shifting their procurement base, they will also start talking about all these factors. Now let's understand where do we stand on this. And one of the renowned survey for this is called as a ease of doing business. So these rankings, they keep coming on in the newspaper. So this is the survey which was conducted in 2019 by the World Bank. And I've just captured only all those nations with whom we are competing. Now, if you look at a list, Taiwan is at the top with its ranking as number 13, followed with Malaysia, followed with Thailand, Turkey, Mexico, Vietnam, Indonesia, and then comes the India. So our rank is 77th, which is not a very good news to our ears. We all are optimistic people. All entrepreneurs are optimistic. We are still having a very high hope that we will get good portion of this pie, that is the planned manufacturing or procurement based shifting from China to other countries. But this is one of our hurdle. Our ease of doing business ranking is 77. But at the same time, this is the ranking if someone wants to set up its plant. There is another interesting ranking which I came across, which is been done by World Economic Forum, which they call it as a global competitiveness ranking. And this ranking covers all those internal and external factors which we just talked about. So as per the global competitiveness report of 2019, India's overall rank was 68. And now it also has given certain subset of this ranking. Let's say, what are these subsets? It starts with institutions. How good is the institution setup? Now, these institutions can be the judiciary institutions. These institutions can be the security institutions which are giving security to the various organizations. These institutions can be institutions like CII. So many institutions are there. So all they club into one called institutions. How good is the institutions infrastructure in this country? The next is infrastructure. How good is the infrastructure? How good is information, communication, and technology adoptions in this particular country? How stable is the macroeconomy of the country? How much that country is performing on the health and skill index? How much is the product market? How good is the labor market? How strong are the financial systems? How good is the market size? What business dynamism rank it has? And finally, how good is the innovation capability? You can see there are certain factors which we are good. Typically, we are good in the market size. This is purely sheer because of our population and our own consumption power. But at the same time, there are so many other areas where we are not actually up to the mark. And we keep talking about it. We keep talking about these factors. Many people say that it's the job of a government. It's the job of a government to take care of all these aspects. Definitely, yes, government has to play their role. So that's why when I classified those external factors, that those are the factors where the state or the central government plays a role. And of course, this machinery is also working. I'm sure most of us have seen that particular news in last couple of days. 2 or more states announced that even in this crisis situation, they reform their labor laws. This indicates that government machinery has started to work upon. A few days back, I was a part of one of the session which was chaired by Honorable Minister Mr. Nitin Gadkari ji. He said that the lead time to set up a business in India, he is targeting to reduce it by more than 50%. That's a target which he has there. Another thing, because of the relationship the current Indian government holds with the outside world, there is good chances that some of these internal factors will go down and we still can attract majority of the investment. But at the same time, we also have to think, we as an industry, are we ready? Let's say for a time being tomorrow, all these external factors comes within the control and organizations start thinking that let's go to India. Will they face any further hurdles? And unfortunately, the answer is still yes. What hurdles they will face? They will face hurdles because of these internal factors. Now, please understand, these internal factors are within control of the industry. These are factors are within control of within you and me. There are so many entrepreneurs, the manufacturing leaders who are part of this particular session. These are the factors which are within control of us. Which are those factors? Extent of staff trainings, digital skills which the employees can use, research and development capabilities, ease of finding skilled employees, flexibility of wage determination, pay and productivity levels, ratio of wage and salaried female to male employees. Now, some of you may feel that why this ratio is important. Now, there are certain industries, to give an example, electronic industry. certain operations within that industry, electronics industry, only the female operators can do. So this factor also plays a role. Now, if we look at it, these internal factors, we are performing equally bad in terms of these internal factors. So when we are talking about that our government doesn't have this infrastructure, the taxation laws are not industry friendly, so many talks which we are having where we are blaming various government agencies, it's also a time to introspect. As an industry leader, we also have to introspect why we are not outperforming other countries on this factor. That's a question which we should ask ourselves. Why are not my productivity, quality, cost, efficiency levels, effectiveness, delivery levels are up to the global standard? So this is something which is worrying to all of us. So if we as an industry leader, we as an industry don't focus on these factors at this moment, tomorrow, even after all external factors will be within our control, still we will not gain. I don't want to sound very negative, but I just want to be giving this alarm to the industry that this is a time where industry also has to wake up. They also have to think that how can I improve my performance, my industry's performing. It will start with my organization's performance. Then it will go to my industry performance. Because when someone is coming from outside the world and wants to set up its base or start procurement, they will not look for a particular organization, but they will scan industry as an overall industry. So it can start with an organization, but then it has to expand at an industry level. That as an industry, the entire industry has to come up. They have to improve their performance. So along with these internal factors, I also call there are certain called allied factors. Now these are allied factors are those factors which industry may not have direct access, direct control, but at the same time, by working with right bodies, whether these bodies are institution bodies, whether these bodies are some government bodies, so through this industry and institutions partnership, these factors can also be improved about. Now, which are those factors? The quality of vocational trainings, the skill set of the graduates, ease of finding skilled employees, domestic competitions, trade openness, GDP, of course, that's the one factor where we are the best, and all commercialization and other factors. So now these are certain factors which the industry as such can work with various institutions and improve our ranking. So my friends, again I repeat that if we want to attract this investment, if we want that India to gain by getting that even the 40% of that pie from $1,000 billion, even if you want to attract 40%, even let's say not 40, even just 10% of it, that is $100 billion, which will double our exports, bit of an exports which were going to these countries, not the entire export as such. What we need to do as an industry, let's start not only talking about external factors, of course, through the bodies like YI, through the bodies like CII and others, we can always put a pressure on the government, give suggestions to the government so that they start working on those external factors. But along with this, we have to unite as an industry and have a focused drive to work upon these internal factors. Let's, as an industry, why can't we say that we will perform the best on all those internal ranking and subsequently in the allied factors ranking? So once we do on that, automatically our overall rank will definitely go up to a great extent. So we, each and every person who is a part on this particular forum, has a role to play in improving India's ranking, has a role to play in attracting this investment to the India, because we all have witnessing the kind of economic situation which we have today. One and the only way that we can go away from this situation, we can improve from this situation, is attracting this investment. So my friends, we have a role to play. Let's play our bit. So because of all these factors, initial news were, which we have seen in my first slide, that can India gain? Can India be one of the beneficiary of all these investments, or all the business which is moving out of China. But now even the media has started talking about certain concerns. So I'm just sharing certain concerns which have been talked by good media like Economic Times, Financial Express, Live Mint. These are certain media where everyone is talking about all these concerns, where it's a BT, Live Mint, and so many others. So the entire world is now saying, yes, India has an opportunity, but because of India's performance, is it the right choice? Is India a right choice for tomorrow's manufacturing hub of the world? People are still optimistic because of the way India has positioned himself in the external world, because of our external relationship, the kind of commitment which we have already demonstrated, and along with some of the good manufacturing practices which India has already demonstrated. So there is a ray of hope, but at the same time, it is a wake-up call for Indian industry. It is a wake-up call for Indian industry that if they want to grow, if they want to get a pie from this cake, they have to move fast. So which are the major hurdles for Indian manufacturers today? The major hurdles are classified into low productivity levels, outdated technologies which we are working, low skill index of our labor availability issue. In fact, till yesterday, India was enjoying this one of the issue that we were having because of this migration of the laborers from north to other parts of India. Labor were still available. Now this problem is going to intensify further. I'm sure everyone is watching the news that the labor are moving back to their hometowns. This is going to make the scenario much worse. Cost of our quality, very high cost of our operations, and very low innovation capability. So these are the major hurdles. But my question to all of you, and maybe you can reply your answer in your chat, is, are these factors, just give me a minute, are these factors manageable or not? What's your takeaway? Just yes or no. Put a small reply in your chat so that I can understand your perspective. Do you think these factors, are they manageable? Yes or no? And just pause here for 2 minutes and I will wait for your reply, your answer. What do you think? Are they manageable? Yes or no?
Vishal, can you share the previous screen again so they can see the questions?
Okay, sure. I will do that. Yeah. So there are certain factors which I have listed on my screen. Please type your answer. What do you think? Are these factors manageable or not? I'll wait for 2 minutes.
Vishal, just a quick intervention. For people who say that they cannot see a screen, I think Microsoft Teams is having a problem with mobile devices. If you can log into a laptop, you should be able to see the presentation clearly.
Okay, fine. So I guess I have you guys have already answered the question, and majority of them who were answered just now are saying yes. And I am a strong believer that all these factors are easily manageable. So my next question to all of you, do you still see a chance over here? Do you still see a chance? Please type, those who can still access. Do you see a chance in this phenomena, in this migration? The world is migrating from China to the other, the manufacturing or the procurement base is migrating from China to else part of the world. Do you still see a chance for India? What's your opinion? We pray, yeah, yes, of course. Yes, of course, as majority of you are saying that yes, we still hold a chance. But to grasp this chance, what we need to do is we need to change. Again, I repeat, We just have to do a small change. To grasp this chance, we have to change. We have to change to the way we are operating. We have to change our paradigms. We have to change the way we are operating. And that's what we call it as we have to change to a new normal. If we keep working in the same way which we were doing pre-crisis scenario, we will keep getting the same results. So if we want to grow post-crisis scenario, we have to change to a new normal. And what is this new normal? This new normal is, I call it as an operational excellence, but with a small change. Many of you may say that we are already doing operational excellence. So what's new in it? Well, to me, just implementing 5S is not an operational excellence. So with this particular statement of just implementing 5S is not an operational excellence, 60 to 70% of the organizations will say that now we are not doing operational excellence. Okay, because that's just a foundations. And on top of it, as of now, there are only few sectors from the Indian economy who are implementing these concepts of operational excellence. These are typically industries like auto industry, somewhat pharma and engineering industry, somewhat, not to the great extent. I am moving to these industries quite often, and I only see, apart from auto as such, very few industry sectors have taken these operational excellence measures seriously. And now one more shift we need to do in our operational excellence initiatives is we don't have to limit our operational excellence just for my own manufacturing unit, but we have to extend our operational excellence in the entire supply chain. Now, I'm sure everyone is aware supply chain constitutes of, it starts from your supplier and the manufacturer, then distribution network, and it ends at the customer. Till yesterday, most of the Indian organizations were implementing some of these concepts of operational excellence. If you want to know the numbers, not even the 10% organizations are implementing these concepts. This 10% number has to go up first, and on top of it, these concepts of operational excellence has to spread across the supply chain. So that's where I say that if we want to grasp this opportunity to be competitive at a global level, the entire supply chain, and in short, the entire industry has to come up. And on which areas they need to come up? The areas in the area of productivity, cost, quality, skill, and delivery. So these are the 6 key pillars. I'm just talking about all those internal factors, improving the internal factors. As I already said, improving the external factors. We put a pressure, give suggestions to the government, and government is doing its bit. Whether the speed is adequate, not adequate, is something debatable. But government is trying. As an industry representative, we have to ensure that we become the benchmark in all these 6 pillars. And how can we do that? Let's go to each and every pillar. And so first pillar is productivity. Simple implementation of identification of non-valuing activities and elimination of non-valuing activities can improve your productivity levels somewhere in the range of 10 to 15% for sure. Coupled with it, improving the effective working time. Now, what is this effective working time? If I am paying a labor for 450 or 480 minutes, am I getting the output of the same work through him? That terminology is called as an effective working time. How much time was the labor actually doing the work in his 8-hour shift? So that is something EWT. So we have to improve this EWT through work study and through work balancing aspect. And I always see that today, because of this migration which is happening even in India, each and every organization, the manufacturing organization, has to do it. Because we are not going to get labor. Even if we are going to get labor, they will not be as cheap as they used to be before. The labor cost is going to shoot up once the industry reopens fully. So each and every organization has to prepare that. Let's say if my labor cost is going to shoot up by, let's say, 20%, you have to start thinking, in order to get the benefit, I have to improve my productivities by more than 30 or 40%. Means whatever the increase in labor cost that is going to happen, your productivity level has to improve 2 times of it. And that's a target statement with which each one of you should now start looking at your operations. And it can be coupled with certain low cost automation. In terms of cost, as I already said, we are 10 to 15% costlier as compared with South Asian organizations. So somewhere we have to implement concepts like value engineering, very important. Why value engineering is important? Because in a manufacturing, 50 to 60% of the cost is the cost of material. And value engineering is one that tool which can reduce your material cost by without affecting the value. So even if you can reduce your material cost by 2 or 3% through value engineering, you are improving your profitability or reducing your cost straight away by 2 or 3% or more than that, in fact. So that's one tool. Second very important tool, Indian organizations which we are very poor in is something called an inventory management. We are very poor in that. There are so many fantastic modules of inventory management are available. The entire world is today talking about implementing just-in-time techniques. And we are still talking about months and years of inventories lying in our stores. When the world is talking about hours and days, we are still talking about months of inventory. So that's another tool. And the third tool which we need to improve upon, there's some, yeah. Sorry for that disturbance. And then the third pillar which we talk about is the pillar of quality, where simply we have to go towards the journey of being Six Sigma compliant. Our quality ratios, our rejection ratios, our rework ratios, our yield ratios are still very poor. We are not even near to the benchmarks. Each and every organization has to target that. You may not go to the Six Sigma level in one night, but maybe today you are at 2 Sigma. First, identify where are you today. Are you at 1 Sigma? Are you at 2 Sigma? And can you take that incremental journey? If you are at 2 Sigma, can you move to 3 Sigma within a span of 3 months? My friends, going forward, you will not have a time. Speed will be the name of the game. So the faster you will improve, the better you will benefit. And along with that, something which can also improve your quality is also improving the equipment management principles. Fourth pillar is something called the delivery, where we have to work on our entire supply chain management. Our focus on supply chain management is still not up to the mark. We have to implement all the supply chain management principles. That's why I said operations excellence implemented across the supply chain will be the new normal. And improving on ensuring on time, OT stands for on time in full deliveries. How can I give my all deliveries on time in full? Because commitment is something which the world observes. And unfortunately, many Indian organizations are very poor in their on time in full commitments. So that's another area which we need to work upon. Of course, skills is something which is very important. And that's where we have to first of all perform our skill gap analysis. How much is the gap? What is required skill versus what is my available skill? Do I have that knowledge as of now? What is the gap in my organization? Once you identify that gap, then slowly we can start bridging this gap. And of course, there is a very famous methodology called TWI, training within industry, which was developed during World War II, where US wanted to train its citizens in manufacturing ammunition, support in joining my ammunition plant and actually running those operations by which they can manufacture ammunition quickly. So that's where this TWI technique was developed, which helps to train the manpower in the quickest possible manner. So that's another thing. And last and not the least is innovation. But here, as I said, what we need to focus upon, since here we are talking about not developing product, but we are talking about fulfilling the requirements. To me, more than product innovation, what we need to focus upon is something called the process innovation. We need to talk about something called the process innovation. How can I innovate my processes? The operation which requires 20 steps, can I do 20 handoffs? Can I do in less than 5 handoffs? Is something which we need to talk about. So these are the 6 improvement levers. If each and every industry player starts working on these improvement levers, you will get 2 benefits. One, and for sure your profitability can go up by more than 15 to 20% for sure. There are proven case studies across the industries where the industries which have given focused drive on these 6 pillars, their profitability has gone up to a great extent. It also helps you to improve your sales, and then you are creating a benchmark in your industry, and the world is small. This your news of your best performance will reach out to these prospects which we are looking at. And as such, when our industry standard on all these parameters will go up, when all our internal factors are up to the global standards, I am sure the world will rush to us, because as an India people, the external world wants to come to India, but they are facing with all these internal as well as some of the external hurdles. So as a good citizen, as a good industry member, let's take a pledge that, of course, we will work with the government to work upon external factors. But as the first step, as we say, if something has to start, it will start from me. Let it start from my industry, my organization, my industry, where I will take my organization, my industry to the world benchmark levels, and thus I will keep a solid foot on the ground to attract this investment. With this, I take a pause in my discussion here with this quote, that a famous quote by Mr. Albert Einstein. He says that in the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity. Of course, in today's crisis also, we are standing on a huge opportunity. It's up to us. How do we treat this opportunity? If together we all work towards improving our internal factors and support our government machineries to working on some external factors, I'm very confident that India is the first choice of the world to set up its manufacturing or procurement location, and tomorrow's India will be called as a manufacturing hub of the world. And with this optimistic note, let me take a pause in my discussion. Any would like to get in touch with me? These are my coordinates for you. And now I open up this session for any question, answers, or queries which you all will have. May I request Rahul or Varun to unmute all the participants, please? And anybody has any queries, I'll be happy to answer those.
Right. Vishal, thank you for an interesting session. To all the participants, I'm leaving a message for you guys. If you can complete the feedback form, we'll have the session recording and the presentation shared across to you. This is the only way we can capture email IDs, otherwise we don't have a data for this. So please complete the feedback form. On the question side, I think we had Sagar Khandelwal who's already put across a question. Vishal, if you can take it.
Sure. Let me
just ask a question that says, what can businesses in India do to reach out to global businesses? Right.
Well, first of all, the two things I will talk about it. Of course, Sagar, there are various opportunities. One, because of the communication networks through internet, which is there in the global, and the news that spreads, we have a fair idea of who is thinking what, who is thinking to shift its manufacturing location, and who is thinking to shift its procurement location. Now, let's say if you are making a particular product which falls into one of these two brackets, it's very easy to reach. And at the same time, there are so many agencies which are available. Some of them are government agencies, some of them are private people who have good connections with these industries in China and other parts of the world. So keep an eye on your products, closely observe their movement, have a right agencies in place, have right people. There are so many people, and of course, we'll be happy to help you on that part as well. Get the right people associated with you, and I'm sure you will be able to reach out to these prospective sellers. And for you, it's a prospective seller.
Yeah. So anyone has questions, please feel free to let us know. You can either put it on the chat window so we can ask those, or you can unmute yourself and ask the question to Vishal directly.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, please state your name before you ask the question.
I am Satish here. Thank you, Vishal. It was a wonderful presentation. Wonderful talk, and I could resonate most of them because I worked earlier in Bosch as head of sourcing to source from India, so I could correlate many of the things what you have said. But the challenge we have for the Indian industry is, like, for example, it's like a chicken and egg story.
Yeah.
Many our Indian industry has the mentality saying that, we will do something when we have some business in foresee that. So what the buyer from the other side is looking, we want somebody to be ready already.
Yes.
So we should come out of the mindset and say, irrespective of the opportunity, if you are ready, opportunity will strike, not the other way around.
Exactly, Satish.
So probably that's an add to the some of the point what you said. Okay.
Yeah.
And next challenge is, how do you, as CI or something, how do you take this industry along?
Sorry, can you please repeat your question? Second part
No,
of the question.
how do we take these initiatives, let this thinking, some of the think what you said, because any of the seminar or training has their own limitations. Okay.
Exactly.
So how this has to be taken at least for a group of industries. Let's talk, put this 20, 30 industries together and then take them, go through all this passion, journey, hand holding, probably something need to be done towards that as professionals.
I have two answers. So of course, we have organizations like CI who are already doing some work in this particular area, where
Yeah.
there are certain clusters they have formed, certain small group associations they have formed, and through which they are driving this industrial journey. Plus, we also have certain industries association which are present at a local level. So now, to
Okay.
me, and these associations are run by the industry members only.
Right.
Right. So the office bearers of all these associations are the industry members. So it is, I will go in the other way around. Let our industry members start talking about this. And of course, all these organizations like CI, they want to drive this initiative provided they get adequate support from their members. So
Okay, like
definitely
again.
launch this particular drive and this can do well. And I agree with you what you said that let's do our bit first. And I'll say,
Yes.
even on a selfish motto, let's say tomorrow in worst case scenario, you work on all those drives which we just talked about. And unfortunately, still you can't attract investment, but at least you will improve your profitability.
Definitely.
Which is the need of the hour, isn't it?
No doubt.
Net loss.
Yes.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone.
Thank you,
name is
Vishal.
My name is Akash, and I would concur with what Mr. Satish said, that it has always been a chicken and egg situation in the country, typically in the Indian mindset, whether we should go for such an initiative or not. But then I think now is the time, now is the best time, considering it's an Indian mindset that unless and until you are threatened and pushed against the wall, you will not improve. That has always been the case. And I think this is the perfect setup which this COVID pandemic has brought to the Indian industry.
Very true, Akash. And as I say, there are just two choices. One is an optional and another is some compulsion. Now, till this pre-crisis scenario, I consider it like operational excellence was an optional topic to majority of the industry. But going forward, it will be that one of the compulsion topic. It will come with that star mark, that if you want to fulfill, this star mark has to be answered. If you don't answer this star mark, your existence will be in a question. So that is going to happen in the future.
Correct. No, I agree.
Yeah, hi. My name is Sagar Khandelwal. I have a quick question here. In fact, I am a company secretary by profession, and we are connected to lots of businesses here in Pune, Mumbai, Nasik, and all of them are almost ready for taking in a new investment or a new collaboration of technology. But now, what the difficulty they are facing is they do not have a channel which they can use to reach out to these people. So the people who are having technology, who would want to move in their operations here, we already have a backup companies here who are ready. But how can we tap that?
So I agree with you, Sagar. There is no formal channel as such available, but there are many informal channels which are available. Like organizations, like you can always approach organizations like CI who has their counterparts in other part of the world. Okay, there are always so many exchange program that happens with such industry bodies. That's point one. Point two, I always say that there are so many people who actually does this kind of a licensing. It's not a licensing. Basically, they are connecting the right buyer and seller. So there are people available in the market. If you are in a specific sector or anything, just touch base with me on my coordinates, which we have just shared. I can connect you to the right people. And there are people who can actually make it happen. Okay. And on top of it, we have CI representatives also here. I'm sure they are also listening to you, and they will create, definitely they will create a platform. The government is thinking of creating such platforms. As I was saying, I was listening to Honorable Minister a few days back. He said that we are creating a platform for all these industries. So just do a bit of a research and you will land up in a right place where you can find all this.
Guys, just a quick request. Once you're done asking the question, can you please mute yourself so that the other people can proceed? Thank you.
Right, Sagar. So I hope, Sagar, I'm answering your question. And if further thing required, we can always touch base.
Surely we can connect.
Yeah, sure. Any further questions, queries? Good. I think good. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this particular webinar. I once again thank Young Indians Pune chapter for organizing this webinar. Special thanks to Rahul and his team, my friend Bharat as well, for playing a key role in organizing this seminar and getting all of us on this common platform. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to Varun as well for ensuring that all administrative setups is done very properly. And last and not least, thanks to all the participants who have joined this particular webinar. This is just a start and we have a long way to go. So let's keep focused towards and let's see a better tomorrow. With this, I thank everyone once again. Hand over it to Rahul.
Thank you, Vishal. This was a very informative session. Guys, I'm dropping the link on the conversation again. In case you need a recording of this and want to see the presentation, please do fill up the feedback form so that we can email this to you. So thank you, Vishal, for a very informative session. The CII team for hosting us, and we look forward to having more such informative sessions going forward. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Have a nice day ahead.